I would like to write something down here very quickly. Learning, acquire, language, and you. Okay. What I want to say is that there are two things related to learning a language. One is learning, the other is acquiring. Learning is something you do for passing a test or for memorizing, and you can have it in your brain, but it doesn't always come out naturally. So the acquiring is what happens when you read a book and you don't even know you learned something, but later on when you speak, it just comes out. And somebody asks you what you learned and you say, I don't know if I learned anything. But then later you speak and those new words come out. So acquiring is what you really want to do. A lot of people learn very well. For example, so many people in Taiwan know something like, I am very exciting. No, I'm very exciting. Oh yes, I'm very exciting. Look at me, how exciting I am. Okay? I meant to say I'm very excited. I feel very excited. The difference between I'm very excited and the difference between I'm very exciting is something many people know, and they can write it on the test, but when it comes to actually speaking, it doesn't come out always quite right. So memorizing and learning rules and memorizing vocabulary helps us to learn the language, but to acquire the language so that it comes out naturally is another step. So that's why you need to practice. And you need to read more, and you need to listen more, and you must practice. If you only learn, it will always sound like you're memorizing. So memorizing is good, but it's a step in the process. It's an optional step. Many people say you don't need to memorize at all. Just read more, just practice more, and you will learn naturally like children learn their first language. So with that, I have a few other comments, and many of the mistakes that people made, I think, are things that you already know, and it's just in the process between learning and acquiring, and you're practicing. I think it'd be a very good idea to write intrigue and articulate up here, so people can remember these words and they can practice using them. I found that everybody who did speak was very articulate. And it was enjoyable to hear you talk, and it was interesting to hear what you had to say. A few of the comments that I will make are, of course, tenses. Verb tenses are difficult. I come up this morning with an idea. I came up this morning with the idea. I think there should also be yeah counters and like counters. Like, it's something that native English speakers use a lot. Yeah, so, yeah.
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 Like, yeah. So, I think maybe that's a good idea to count those sometimes too and pay attention to that. I like at the beginning when the prize, one of the most colorful pieces of language that I heard tonight, the prize for winning the first competition was eternal glory. It's a joke, but it made it fun. The three continuous pictures, taking three pictures, I'm not quite sure why they were continuous. Maybe three pictures in different positions, I thought. 13 alphabets, maybe that's translation from German. 13 letters, right? There's different letters, the different letters in the words. During the week, I was so concentrated. I was concentrated. If you are very concentrated, then maybe you can add a bunch of water, and then you will become full. A concentrated is a more condensed version. I concentrated very much. I was concentrating. I kept in touch with it. I liked about German, the extent, the metaphor. I kept in touch with it. I kept in touch with German. That sounds like you're treating German like a person. And then later, at the end, German was a monster. And I think it would have been very interesting throughout to have had this idea as German as a person. And that was a metaphor that was there, but building metaphors is one of the most interesting ways to speak and to make your language interesting. And so at the end, when you mentioned that German is no longer a monster, that was very good. And I liked with Lori, too, the metaphor that came up at close to the end. Every person is a butterfly with magical wings. That was very nice. And I think, again, that's a great metaphor that could have been used even more throughout the speech. And, one day, if you run into a poor people, what would you do? A poor people, a poor person, of course. If you run into a poor person, one day if you run into some poor people, okay, that's one of those things that we know. With Lori, I thought your pronunciation was good, but just need to enunciate the consonants more. If there's one thing I would encourage you to work on, as you obviously practiced very, very well, and your voice was quiet but clear, but your consonants, pronounce those, work on those to pronounce those more clearly. And then chlorophyllin. Chlorophyllin is a chemical, something I never heard of. But chlorophyll is something you should all know, because chlorophyll is the green stuff in plants, right? That makes energy.
Yeah.
So if you know chlorophyll, then chlorophyllin is an extension off of that. All right, and we'll welcome our first audience. Audience is a group of people. Let's welcome the first member of our audience. Is there somebody timing me, or do I just keep going until I feel like stopping? Okay, I don't know if I'm being...
10 minutes there.
Okay, because I had about 15 minutes, but I should stop earlier. Also about research. They should research on food safety. Okay, I'm doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. They should do research on food safety. Research can be used as a verb. They research the topic, but if it's more specific, they do research on food safety. Okay, and then I noticed one of the evaluators mentioned, used intrigue. Right? That was the only person I noticed who used any of these two words, so good job. And I thought that at close, the other evaluator mentioned stand on his or her feet. Right? We should stand on his or her feet.
Put ourselves in others' shoes.
Right, we put ourselves in others' shoes. Stand on somebody else's feet sounds very clumsy. Right. And then the other thing, I like the idea, walk bigger next time. And I think when you said walk bigger, you meant walk in a bigger amount of space. But I think this is a kind of maybe mistake that isn't a mistake, because walk bigger can also mean walk bolder, right? Walk bigger, feel more confident, walk bigger. So it's not a term I heard before. But I like it. Walk bigger means walk with more confidence, stand with more confidence, use your space. So that's it for what I'd like to share. Thank you all.